What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on First Take, they're going to talk about, is Kawhi Leonard the most clutch player in the NBA right now? So let's see what they have to say about that.
Were the Raptors lucky or good last night?
What I want to know really is, where's Jay Williams this morning? Remember he said, what iconic moment did Kawhi Leonard ever have?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, only for the second time in history. The first time being Michael Jordan in an elimination game. Did anyone ever in the history of basketball in the playoffs hit a buzzer beater? The first was the Jordan shot over Craig Elo, the most iconic in the argument for most iconic shot in the history of basketball. One of the most iconic plays in the history of worldwide sports. And now Kawhi. And by the way, was it lucky or good? Who was guarding Kawhi Leonard? Ben Simmons. But it wasn't just one-on-one, because they didn't guard him one-on-one. They sent double teams and traps. It was Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, an excellent defender and an elite defender. And he got around Simmons and shot the three, got a good look in Embiid's face with a shooter's touch. It was backspin, high arc, off the front of the rim, bounce, 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 and it went in. It wasn't left or right. Was he lucky or good? Kawhi Leonard, these whole playoffs. Remember I said LeBron James put the baton down because we don't see him play in the playoffs to remind us that he's actually the best player in the world, as he does every year. Next time he has a chance to do that, next year's playoffs, if they make it, he'll be 152 years old. So really the baton is, who wants it? Kyrie didn't want it. Harden didn't want it. Not really. KD wanted it. Unfortunately, he got hurt. The jury is out. Freak wants it, but no one has wanted it more than Kawhi. And Kawhi, right now, has to be considered the best basketball player at the moment. Could change throughout the next series. At the moment, this dude is the best basketball player on the planet Earth. And the most clutch.
So I can agree with that, Max, only because Kevin Durant's hurt and he's out. Now, if Kevin Durant wasn't out and hurt, I'd say that Kevin Durant is the best overall basketball player playing right now. But Kawhi Leonard, I'd say pound for pound, is probably the best and probably the most clutch basketball player right now. And as far as that last play that he had, so Ben Simmons and Embiid were both going to go double team Kawhi. Ben Simmons gave up on the play, you can see, which if he was there to help contend, that could have changed the game. Because what he's 6'10", going against Kawhi's 6'7", and Embiid was there too. He tried, but he mistimed his jump. So that would have been a 6'10" guy and a 7-footer contesting on a guy that's 6'7". So that might have changed the game if Simmons hadn't given up on that. But we know how that turned out. Now, with that said, with Kawhi making that big play, I cannot say that that's the biggest clutch shot ever. I just can't do it. That is not the biggest, most clutch shot. People said the same thing about Damian Lillard a couple weeks ago. And let me tell you why it's not the biggest clutch shot. It's because they were tied up. So the pressure level was high, but it wasn't as high as if they weren't tied. So if Kawhi Leonard misses the shot, they go in overtime. But he made the shot, so they win. That's a different type of pressure than if they were down 1 or 2 points. And if Kawhi makes the shot, they win. But if he misses the shot, they lose. That's two different types of pressures. You guys see what I mean there? That's two different types of pressures. And to call his shot and Damian Lillard's big shot that he shot 2 weeks ago when they were both tied, to call those two shots the biggest, most clutch shots, that's incorrect. It is. And what it does, it diminishes and waters down the guys that really took shots that were down 1 or 2 points and they scored and they won the game versus missing a shot and losing the game and going home. That takes away from them because that's a different type of pressure. Because shooting that type of shot when you're down, either you make it and you go on or you miss and you go home. That type of pressure can bust a pipe. That type of pressure can mold your career, could thrust you in a good position with your career, or you can never let that down if you miss that type of shot. Some players, the stage is too big to take those type of shots. And you can see some of the big time players, they're too scared to take that final shot. Jordan wasn't, Kobe wasn't, But to say that Kawhi Leonard shot and Damian Lillard shots were the most clutchest shots, I can't do it. They were huge shots, don't get me wrong. Kawhi Leonard's a baller, don't get me wrong. But he wasn't dealing with the highest amount of pressure that you could deal with. Because, like I said, if he makes it, they win. If he misses, they go in overtime. So that's his safety net. So other than that, it's a great game. Kawhi Leonard's a baller, and I'm not taking anything away from him. So let's keep going.
Your answer would be correct if you answered the question. But you didn't answer the question because they didn't ask you whether or not Kawhi Leonard was lucky or good. They said the Raptors. That's a collective answer. And so as a result, I get to look at the whole team. And I say they lucky as hell for a couple of reasons. Number one, Pascal Siakam didn't have the greatest game. Marcus Gasol had 7 points. He didn't have the greatest game. Danny Green, he didn't have the greatest game, had 2 points. They shot 38% from the field. They shot 23% from three-point range. And oh, by the way, when we're talking about that great Kawhi Leonard, who was absolutely phenomenal, there's no doubt about it, considering the series that he had, this was actually his worst shooting performance. Because he shot 39 times. Shot 41% from the field. So let's take that into consideration. Now let's go to the 76ers to contribute to the luck that Toronto Raptors had, which basically ruined my weekend because now I got to leave the country and I don't have global entry. Y'all know that was been my interest all along. I didn't even notice. I didn't even pick the game Friday. I just said, I don't have global.
Okay, so while Stephen A. Smith is talking about his traveling status, he is correct about, actually, it's really both teams didn't play that well. So let's look at Toronto. Siakam, he had 11 points. Kawhi Leonard, he had 41 points. He went 16 for 39 and 2 for 9 for the 3 points. Kyle Lowry did nothing pretty much again. He had 10 points. He went 1 for 7 from the 3-point. Ibaka had a relatively pretty good game off the bench. He had 17 points and he went 3 for 5 for the 3-pointer. And let's take a look at the 76ers. So Tobias Harris had 15 points. Embiid had 21 points. He went 6 for 18. He went 1 for 6 from the 3-point, which isn't that surprising. Simmons only had 13 points, never took a 3-point shot, so he went 4 for 5. Jimmy Butler put up 16 points. He went 5 for 14. He made 1 out of 6 3-point shots, and Redick had 17 points. So both teams didn't really play that well, considering. But they both, it was just a matter of who was going to do enough to get over that hump. And obviously Toronto did, and Kawhi got his squad over that hump. So I don't know. That's just, Kawhi is just a baller. He took care of business. So I don't know. Let's keep going.
Entry. Sixers got to win this game because I cannot be on them damn lines. And sure enough, them damn Raptors gonna have me on this line.
Can we get this expedited?
You'll be taking a lot of pictures, signing a lot of autographs.
Let me tell you something right now.
Regular people.
Let me tell you something. You can call it whatever you want to. I just Stevie A love the kids. He sure does. But the point is that I got a lot. How about the hate lines? Because you damn right, Max. Amen to that.
Keeps you grounded.
Oh my Lord, you literally speaking on the ground, stuck in them damn lines. But let me say this. When we talk about luck, the reason why it comes to mind is because sometimes the assistance of the opposition contributes. Now, we understand that contributes to your luck, but you're looking at the 76ers. Now, Jimmy Butler, I'm going to give a pass. He only had, 16 points, 41 minutes or whatever.
That's a man. Jimmy Butler's a man.
Yeah, 60 points in 42 minutes. But let's be clear. Kawhi Leonard was defending him. Nick Nurse made the switch. Put Kawhi Leonard on Jimmy Butler. If there's ever an excuse to not have a stellar offensive game, it's when the Kawhi Leonard is guarding you. Tobias Harris, just 9 shots. He had 5 of them, but just 9 shots. I could have seen a little bit more. I swear to you, and I'm not advocating that Brett Brown get fired, but I swear to you, if this man loses his job, one of the biggest reasons they're going to point to is Joel Embiid and them damn 3-pointers. Now, he hit one late, but he missed his first 5, shot 1 of 6 from 3-point range. Why this man wasn't in the post more, I don't understand it. And then Ben Simmons, another reason you would look at Brett Brown. Is somebody going to help this brother develop a jump shot?
Yep.
Is somebody. Ben Simmons was on the court last night, 42 minutes. He attempted 5 shots. He had 4 of them. We all know how we feel about Ben Simmons in terms of his potential. But at some point in time, we got to talk about this brother. And just the complete absence of a J and the fact that when he is on the court, it is 4-on-5 for a defense going against the Sixers offense because he is no threat from the perimeter. That's somewhat compromised him.
So as far as that does point towards coaching. And so as far as Ben Simmons, he's going to have the whole offseason. He better be shooting 1,000 balls a day, working on his jumper for every spot you can think of on that court. So that next year, you should definitely see a noticeably difference in his shooting and his techniques and all that. He should be working with the shooting coach, and he's got nothing but time, nothing but all summer to do what he needs to do and perfect that shot. And as far as that last play and coaching, I think the coaches should have maybe set up a play that Kawhi is probably going to get the ball. So let's double team him, which they try to do. But Simmons gave up on the double team, and Embiid just in-timed his jump, which kind of messed things up. But if both of those guys were able to take care of business and get test Kawhi Leonard's shot, I mean, you got 6'10" going against 6'7", and 7 foot going against 6'7". You're trying to tell me one of those guys were able to give a heavy contestant to Kawhi Leonard's shot? So as far as basketball IQ, they could have done a better situation there, which also points to the coach. He should have had to put them in a position to, I guess, have better contention of Kawhi Leonard. So I don't know, but I think some of that falls on the coaches, and your players have to be a little bit smarter too to figure out what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. That's covered in 10-second drills or whatever in basketball. One last minute drills and basketball practice. So I don't know, but let's keep going.
Looking at the way that Raptors shot the ball, I'm looking at the absence of production from others. I'm even looking at Kawhi shooting 41%. And then I'm looking at how the Sixers assisted them by not putting Joel Embiid in the post.
You bring up the Kawhi point on Jimmy
issue.
Butler. First of all, that's also excellence. It's his defense.
No, I didn't say no, that's the point that I'm conceding.
Yeah.
I'm saying
what I'm saying is
right.
So Kawhi deserves credit. He's excellent.
I'm conceding that.
Let's flip it. Jimmy Butler was on Kawhi. How's Jimmy Butler on defense?
Well, you can say that, but I saw Ben Simmons for the most part.
Well, I was about to get to that. Ben Simmons, too. How's Ben Simmons on defense? Ben Simmons is a good defender.
They're all good defenders, but Kawhi is sensational. We get that.
And were they double-teaming Kawhi?
Yes, they were.
They were trapping, doubling.
And getting the ball out of his hands, but he was still finding a way to jack up shots, too.
So when they brought in Kawhi Leonard, they did it because last year we saw DeMar DeRozan is not good enough. He's an excellent player. Not good enough to be the best player on a championship team. So Masai Ujiri, maybe the best GM in basketball, best president of team operations in basketball, traded for Kawhi Leonard, even though it probably was going to be a one-year rental, because he realized that dude is good enough to be the best player on a championship.
Look at the company that Kawhi is with. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, those are two arguably the best centers of all time. What company is he with? Kawhi Leonard is a baller. So let's keep going.
Team. He was brought in for this, even if your other guys aren't helping out, even if the defensive nature of the game is such that no one's really scoring, everyone's shooting poorly. He brought Kawhi in and constructed a team around him for that moment.
But that's not luck. But that's not the point, because what I'm saying to you is that if you're talking about the series, of course that wasn't luck. But we're talking about what transpired yesterday, even down to the last shot in terms of the multiple bounces before it went in. There's no